Hi everyone, here we go with Tuesday's chapter 3 and 4. So, who else lives here? Said Barry as the lift rose to the top floor marked P House on the lift button. Barry knew that P stood for Pent, although a small part of him wanted to ask Jonty if it stood for P. He suppressed that with a giggle. No one, said Jonty. No one? Said Barry. But it's an enormous building. Yes, said Jonty. Vlassorina wanted to live somewhere very high, but obviously not somewhere where they'd have to bump into ordinary people. So that's why they built Vlassopolis. He took out a tissue and wiped Barry's cheek. Sorry, Barry. It's very hard not to spit when you say Vlassopolis. Oh dear, I've done it again. Really, it's no problem. Why couldn't they just have called it Vlassorina Towers? Said Jonty with a sigh. But who lives on all these other floors? Asked Barry. No one, said Jonty. They sometimes give the apartments to some of their famous friends to stay in, when they're in town. You know. Finula Postelnarg, she stayed here. Jat Blatt. Monty out of Monty and the Nosehairs. Obviously only Monty, none of the Nosehairs. Imogen La Bam Bam, who, as I'm sure you know, designed the first ever edible smartphone. Dickie Henderson Bear, who dances on a carousel in Ting, went the lift, much to Barry's relief. He'd just had about enough of Jonty's name-dropping, especially when the names were all people he hadn't heard of. The lift doors opened, not into a corridor as Barry expected, but straight into the penthouse flat. It was an enormous room, bigger than any Barry had ever seen, with windows on all sides showing an amazing view of the city. The room itself was really white. White walls, thick white rugs, paintings on the wall that seemed to be just blank white canvases, and, on the very long white sofa, a white poodle, a white fluffy cat, and a long-haired white rabbit looking at him curiously. Music was playing, piped in from all sides. Barry had just caught the lyrics, "He sleeps by the fire while we watch the news," when from the ceiling 2 white cages descended containing 2 figures, apparently asleep. The cages reached the floor and their doors opened. The man looked up with a surprised face and sang, "When one pops out." The woman looked up, danced into his arms, ballroom style, and leant back singing, "He looks confused." Then they opened their mouths and pretended to bark. Eventually the music stopped, and from their dance position, the man and the woman, clearly Vladimir and Morosina Padada, or, if not some lunatics who had broken in, said together, "Barry, welcome to Vlassopolis." Jonty took out his tissue and wiped their combined spit off Barry's face. Chapter 4. Barry had an amazing day with Vlassorina. Vlad showed him clips from his movies, and Morosina showed him videos of all her hits. They took a photograph of him with the 2 of them putting their arms around him and posted it on something they called Birdie Noise, and, because Vlassorina had 17 million feeders, they got 20,000 people reseeding it to all their friends. Morosina wrote a song. Well, she called a man up who 20 minutes later sent her back a song called "Barry, I Will Carry You," a really big, slow, emotional number like people do on the X Factor in the sing-off. "Barry, I will carry you, whenever you fall, I'll be standing tall," it went when she sang it for him. It was a tiny bit awkward for Barry, as she sort of sang it at him with a backing track that the unnamed man who wrote it had sent via computer, and so Barry had to keep smiling for about 5 minutes. And then he realized that he probably shouldn't be smiling, that maybe he should look as if he was about to cry, like the judges did on the X Factor when people sang these songs. But by the time he thought this, it was too late. She was hugging him, and Vlad, who, it turned out, had been filming it, was saying, "That'll be great. I'll get Jonty to put it on the Me tube." Then, later, Vlad called, or possibly got Jonty to call, Barry wasn't sure, Jamie Gherkiner, who was the most famous chef in this world, and he came round and prepared the most incredible tea. Jamie said, "Okay, Barry mate, what you fancy, me old darling?" And after Vlad had explained what that meant, it became clear that Barry could say literally the first thing that came into his head, and Jamie would be able to make it. In Vlassorina's enormous stainless steel kitchen. Sausage-flavoured jelly? No worries. Donuts filled with cookie dough ice cream? Coming right up. A whole roast chicken made entirely out of skin? If you say so. Salty bananas? That's the side dish sorted. Sherbet pie? My signature dish. 30 minutes later, all this food was miraculously sitting on the huge white dining table, looking amazing. Barry couldn't believe it. There was a weird moment when he wasn't allowed to eat it straight away, but had to stand smiling by the table with Jamie and Vlad and Morosina while Jonty took photos of them all. For Goodbye magazine, he heard Morosina say, although not as weird, to be honest, as the actual taste of salty bananas. Jamie looked a bit upset when Barry spat them out, but then he smiled again when Barry tucked into the sherbet pie. Everyone laughed and clapped at the huge cloud of white that exploded out of it when he dug his fork in. It matches the furnishings, said Morosina, and everybody laughed again, even Barry, who had no idea what she meant. Then, after tea, which, apart from the salty bananas, was absolutely delicious, Vlad said, "Right, time to get ready." "Ready for what?" said Barry. "Your party, of course." "Oh," said Barry, "right. So we got a message from the parent agency that it's He got out his phone, which, like the steering wheel of his car, was covered in diamonds, and, Vlad had told him earlier, was a special gift from the people at Peach. "Hold on. James Pond party. Bond." Vlad looked up. "Definitely says Pond here, and the Diamond A communicator, only one in the world, never lies." So who is this James Pond guy?" "Well, he's like a secret agent who drives fast cars and fights evil and stuff." "What? Morosina? Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" "I think I am, darling." "I know you are." "I know you are too." Said their mouths as they kissed. "Ugh," thought Barry, waiting for them to finish. "You're in luck, B-man," said Vlad when they finally stopped kissing. Why?" said Barry. "Because this character James Pond sounds exactly like Dirk Large." "And," Morosina, hugging Barry again, "it's the premiere of the new Dirk Large movie tonight, with a big party afterwards, at which you can be the guest of honor, Barry." "Great," said Barry. Just one thing. Who's Dirk Large?" Morosina moved away from him, incredulous. Vlad also looked like someone had slapped him with a wet fish, as Barry's grandpa used to say about surprised faces. "You really don't know?" said Vlad. "Where have you been for the last 10 years, my friend?" Somewhere else," said Barry. Vlad stood up. He turned his head away from Barry and stared hard into the distance. "Secret agent, driver of fast cars, battler of evil," he said. He turned back to Barry and mimed aiming a gun at him. "I am Dirk Large, of Death in a Car. Except in number 3 when they got Jackie Noodle to be him. Yes, thank you, Jonty. Can you go and get my soup ready, please?" There we go. That's it for today. Thank you very much for all the comments I've been getting, especially nice to see one from Marcus. I hope you're doing well at your new school. And also special thanks to Ms. Dowd, who's been saying some very nice things over WhatsApp. See you next time.